Pretty much will have.
It's great to have a full house. Come on in, Jeff. Great. Well, great schools have great law faculty who are not only leading researchers and scholars who care deeply about the community, but also care deeply about students in the classroom and how they learn. Each year at the end of the spring semester, we take a moment to pause to recognize that at the heart of our law school are teachers, and honor those teachers whose contributions have been judged to be truly exceptional this past year. We recognize exceptional teaching achievement at the law school in two ways. Several years ago, the trustees of Indiana University created the Trustees Teaching Award to recognize excellent and meritorious teaching that is demanding, effective, and creative. This year, we honor 4 of our faculty with Trustee Teaching Awards. I'm also privileged to present the Leon H. Wallace Teaching Award, which is the highest teaching honor that we can bestow upon our faculty. Let me begin by thanking the family of Leon Wallace for making this award possible. Leon Wallace was the dean of the law school in the 1950s. At the time of his retirement, it was noted that he had this tremendous record of teaching. Martha Moore, Leon Wallace's granddaughter, was unable to attend today, but she specifically asked me to pass on her well wishes and congratulations. Her and her mother, Susan Hayes Volkel, have attended over the years and pass on the very best wishes to everybody at the law school. Okay, before we begin, a committee of students helped in the nominations of faculty for these awards. The committee takes the charge to select faculty incredibly seriously. They review teaching evaluations, consulted with their colleagues and classmates and the student body, and they did it in record time, and they deserve our thanks. Please join me in thanking this year's committee, Lucy Chavan, Ash Kulak, and Ax Thibodeau, who is this year's committee. I also wanted to extend a special thanks to Samuel. If you see her, please pass on the thank you. I think she's here, for getting the teaching award plaques ordered and calling in a favor for a quick turnaround and picking them up in record time. She actually picked them up this morning so we would have them at the school. I don't know what she has over them, but she got this done very, very quickly. At this time, let me invite Lucy, Ash, and Alex to the podium to present the 4 of our Trustee Teaching Awards, and then I'll return for the Leon Wallace Award. Alex, it's all yours. Excellent.
I have the pleasure of presenting the first award. The saying, "show me, don't tell me," comes up a lot for law students. When crafting a memo or arguing a case, actions often speak louder than words. And there are very few professors who have shown how much they care through their actions than Professor Mattioli. It's a well-known fact that a course with Professor Mattioli is one of the best ways to begin your career in law school. Over 95% of his students stated in their evaluations that they felt that they learned a lot in his classes, and over 3/4 of them would recommend him to a friend or another student at the school. His kind, easygoing, yet structured teaching style is expertly crafted to put a first-year student at ease, while demanding quality and consistency of work product. Contracts is one of the most complex areas for a first-year curriculum. And students consistently report that Professor Mattioli has made the difference in how they feel about that class. One evaluation even reads, Professor Mattioli made what is probably the hardest subject of my semester a whole lot of fun, and he made cold calling a whole lot less scary. It's certainly not the case that the material on his exams are any easier or the cold calls any less demanding, I can tell you from personal experience. Rather, it is his extensive preparation that he puts into each and every lecture that puts the students at ease. Simply through his illustrations, diagrams, flowcharts, and realistic examples, students are able to visualize the law in a way that's fun and easily consumable. Another student bluntly wrote that he makes everything fun and explores things in a way that even a 5-year-old could understand. Take that as you will. Students consistently mention Celebrity Contract Wednesdays as one of their favorite gimmicks to make contracts interesting, and I remember that fondly as well. There's absolutely no denying the fact that there is love behind his technique. Professor Mattioli consistently goes above and beyond to deliver material in new and dynamic ways that elicits a visceral response from the students. And the most consistent point of feedback that we receive is that it's so clear that he cares. and the students really do appreciate that. Professor Mattioli, congratulations.
Professor Foohey teaches some of the arguably most, some say boring subjects at Mauer. Secure transactions, bankruptcy, contracts, but she makes them interesting, and students recommend her over and over for upper level courses. Student evaluations praise Professor Foohey for this, saying, quote, "She's the only reason I was able to bear through the miserable subject matter." First-year students raved over their first semester contracts course in their evaluations, with comments like, "This is the, all caps, best professor I had this semester," or "favorite class." The most notable evaluation said that Professor Foohey is, quote, "probably one of the top 10 professors of my educational career." Professor Foohey's pedagogy hits home with a lot of students. She takes a problem-centered approach to her classes, focusing on getting students to apply what seem like dry legal concepts to real-world situations. One evaluation appreciated how she used problems to illustrate policy and application of law. Another said that the only criticism that they had of her class was for not using her cat in as many problems as the student. This application approach is the foundation of what Mauer claims to teach and instill in its students. Professor Foohey's excellent teaching skills and pedagogical style align with some of Mauer's most fundamental core values. After reading through student evaluations and talking with students who've taken her courses, one thing is astoundingly clear. Professor Foohey is an excellent educator. Students know what to expect in her courses, with a clear timeline of what will be covered all semester. Students say that Professor Foohey strikes a good balance between being demanding enough as a professor and being encouraging and supportive in class. This balance, on top of having clear class objectives and placing a heavy emphasis on practical student learning, is what makes Professor Foohey motivate an overwhelming majority of students who take her courses to do their very best work. It comes to no surprise that they recommend her over and over again for courses that some would never think could possibly be interesting. But Professor Foohey isn't just good at teaching inside the classroom. Students also comment about how she really cares about her students and makes herself available if they need assistance. This is of utmost importance for any faculty member at Mauer, and again drives home what Mauer is all about: being there for its students and helping us foster a real-world sense of how the law works in practice. That is why I'm honored to say that Professor Foohey has been selected for a Trustee Award this year at Mauer.
I'm honored to present our next Trustee Teaching Award to Professor Wallace. In her short time in Bloomington, Professor Wallace has already made a profound impact on the Mauer community. Whether the subject matter is antitrust, pretrial litigation, or the legal profession generally, Professor Wallace is consistently praised for her ability to draw on real-life experience, both her own and those of her students, to bring course material to life and create a truly dynamic learning experience. Ask any student who's taken a course from Professor Wallace, and you will likely hear them describe the experience as engaging. Professor Wallace brings a unique and practical perspective to her from her depth of legal experience that helps to supplement in-class learning and facilitate interesting conversation. Her drive to promote meaningful discourse among students leads to lively discussions and what students described as the most interesting and engaging parts of class. Students also appreciate that in the process, she shows respect for everyone's values and embraces diverse viewpoints. This personal touch has made quite an impression on her students, who are quick to describe her as incredibly smart, funny, and engaging, approachable, high energy, and passionate. In addition to providing personalized instruction in the classroom, Professor Wallace goes out of her way to show that she truly cares for her students. One student evaluator remarked that Professor Wallace is, quote, one of the kindest and most helpful people I have ever met. She's not only very involved with student learning, but also takes a keen interest in each and every student outside of class. Multiple students from her legal professions class remarked on sitting with Professor Wallace for hours at a time while she helped prepare them for job interviews and discuss career objectives. She's also heavily involved with student extracurricular activities and professional development, where she's had a meaningful influence on students she's never even had in class before. We are extremely grateful to Professor Wallace for her passion and commitment to the Mauer community, and we are very pleased to present her with this Trustee Teaching Award.
Professor Hoeksema is unlike any other professor here at Mauer in all of the best ways. Each class period is truly a practitioner's lesson, and he conveys information in a way that imparts incredible value without the muck that traditional academia usually comes with. His negotiations class, quite honestly, provides some of the most practical skills of any course at this school, in my opinion. While his assigned reading does teach you the theory of negotiation, his lecture does something far more magical than that. It teaches you to perceive the world in a different way. After taking his course, every interaction becomes about incentives or concessions, goals or hard limits. He takes the lesson out of the classroom, the boardroom, or the courtroom and brings it right into your living room. Students love his candid conversational style, and he doesn't waste time with empty formalities, and from day one he treats every student more as a colleague than an apprentice. His feedback on student work shares the same honesty, candor, and practicality that he uses in his lectures. His style is immensely helpful in developing good habits both as a professional negotiator and as a person navigating everyday relationships. In quite simple terms, he takes the complexity of psychology, sociology, and negotiation theory and boils it down into bite-sized concepts that are memorable and practical. As a practitioner, Professor Hoeksema is able to bring real-world experience into the classroom and uses his actual clients to show how decisions are made in the real world based on live statistics. Some adjunct professors are destined to be professors, while others are clearly valuable because of the practical experience that they have. Professor Hoeksema strikes the perfect balance of instructor and legal soldier to create an absolutely dynamic experience for his students. Although he's not able to accept the award in person today, please join me in congratulating Professor Hoeksema.
In case there was any question, there was no administrative editing of the buck that was described. It's now my honor to present the Leon H. Wallace Teaching Award. As I mentioned at the start of the ceremony, the Wallace Teaching Award stands for the very highest honor and high standards of teaching that we have here at the law school. The opportunity to make the award is not only cause for celebration, it is an important institutional statement on our part. It enables us as an institution to recognize excellence and honor fine teaching. This year, the recipient of the Leon H. Wallace Teaching Award is Professor Jeannine Bell. Sick for a while. Students were effusive with their praise for Professor Bell this past year. As one student commented, quote, "Professor Bell is simply an outstanding educator." Or as another student wrote, in all caps, "Best class ever." Students emphasized the breadth of information they were able to learn in just one semester. Quote, "I learned more in this class, criminal procedure investigations, than any of my other classes combined this semester." I'm looking up what those classes are. Many students also praised Professor Bell for efficient use of class time in a very large survey class. It always has a way of helping guide students to understand difficult concepts and overcome roadblocks in understanding. As one student commented, quote, "She makes the content understandable and foresees the difficulty that her students might have before they even have them." She's also an innovative thinker when it comes to her pedagogical style, with a number of students praising the use of the 3-panel cold call system. Professor Bell's praise, though, came not just from the large classes, but also for the depth of understanding they obtained from smaller seminars and for smaller classes. The nomination committee recommended Professor Bell for this honor because she has shown the ability to teach not only just as a large lecture standpoint, but also as a facilitator of deep small group discussion. Professor Bell in that way exemplifies the very best tenets of the Wallace Award, focused on rigor, excellence, demanding, and supportive teaching. As one student evaluation put it, she doesn't shy away from topics most professors wouldn't cover. She doesn't overlook difficult questions about race and racism in the criminal justice system, while also being careful to presenting from various perspectives. As the nominating committee explained, Professor Bell asked the tough questions that get you not only to think from multiple perspectives, but also to challenge you not just to learn the law, but to apply it in real life. It's my honor today to present the Leon H. Wallace Teaching Award to Professor Jeannine Bell. That concludes this year's Teaching Award ceremony. If we could have one more round of applause for the students who really put in a lot of time. And again, congratulations to this year's award recipients who, if you could stay around, we need to take lots of photographs. Thank you very much.